right. Welcome back. It is Wednesday, June 5th. Today's title of the video is how to spot the turn. And we'll get to that once we get to the profiles. But first, as we do all the time to help us maintain that perspective, we are going to jump out to the monthly. And as we can see here on the monthly, we are continuing higher. We're above the previous month's close, and that previous month's close being 52.95 half. We continue to monitor that level and assume that the market is strong above that level. You can see right now we're trading a little bit higher, 53.25. So above where we closed yesterday. Yesterday's close 53.04, so 53.25. Continuing a little bit higher here. So we'll continue to monitor that. The monthly is in a balance and we are towards the high of that balance. We want to continue watching to see if we're going to get a breakout from that balance. We've got this 53.17 level that we've been watching pretty exclusively or constantly to kind of monitor that breakout level. It looks like it's turning more towards like the 5300, 5295, of course, last month's close. So anywhere in between there, we want to see the market continue higher. Like I said, right now, 5326, the market is trading higher. Switching over to the weekly, you can see the weekly is still inside the previous week's range. Last week's high, 53.34. Last week was a -4 week. We talked about this close. That's that 52.95, right? Also a week -4 weekly close. It was the monthly close as well. Above that, the market has some opportunity for some short covering. Below that, you get some opportunity for liquidation. So it's really key turning point and starting to turn into a very important piece of market generated information, that last week's close. But so far inside the previous week's range, like I said, the high 53.34.75. If we break above that, you would break this down move and at least turn the market back into a weekly balance, which it still really isn't a weekly balance. Really no kind of change. We just touched the low, came back in, and just balancing now. Now switching over to the daily, you can see here we have this longer term weekly balance, and we get a look below. And today we're going to try to determine, is it going to be a fail or acceptance, right? Now we have this previous low here, and that's about around the 73. You can see all these lows kind of lining up. I would say we can pretty much move an equilibrium up here. Let's go ahead and duplicate this, and we'll move it up to, let's call it 87. Looks good. Basically, you just see a lot of interactions with this level, so we want to continue to monitor that level. Above that would be a sign of strength, below it a bit of weakness. But right now we kind of have a look below the weekly balance and a retest of this low. Now we are trading a little bit higher, 27. We're trading up here back into the mid of that balance, and we can kind of see even here this 53.32, which was the previous COTS VPOC, is going to be an extremely important level. Above that would be an extreme sign of strength and likely test the all-time high. Now, switching over to the profile and a little bit of review from yesterday, because the title of the video is how to spot the turn. Now, if we look at this in a larger perspective, and this is just like looking at the daily chart, right? These are daily profiles. We can see this look below. Here's balance low, balance high. We can see this kind of look below, looking for that acceptance. We get that big down day return. Well, yesterday, we get this kind of hold inside range, right? Hold of the balance low. This 52.80, 52.87 was the takeoff spot, and we, ended up closing towards the high. Now, and then, you can see in the overnight session, we're obviously getting continuation. And I mean, honestly, like I said, 53.33 is that prior cop point of control. A hold of that likely takes us up to the 58. Maybe some resistance here. We have, a lot of equal highs here and where our balance high is at, but more than likely probably a move higher into that area if we maintain that. And so when you're looking for this turn, what you're doing is you're looking for that acceptance below or above, right? And a lot of times on a longer term balance like this, right? We said yesterday it's a 10-day balance, so 2 weeks of balance, and it's starting to turn into a 3-week balance here, or even possibly a 4-week balance, depending upon how this week turns out. We're about halfway through. Is that we want to see acceptance or rejection of that area, right? We got that rejection last week. This week we've kind of come back in, and you can see BPOC, BPOC. So volume kind of stacking here at this low, which is that 83.50 yesterday. Volume kind of stacking, showing acceptance back up into this balance, this longer term balance, and then we get that kind of continuation. So that's going to be basically the key level, continuing if there is a move lower. Now, as far as today goes, we have gap rules in play, right? Yesterday's high, 53.13 quarter. We really want to stay above that, or see the market stay above that, and it's going to be a long only territory. Maybe some possible shorts off the balance high if the market starts to get weak, some possible fades. But above that 33.50, I really don't think you want to fade. Maybe below, there's some opportunity to fade off of that into back towards this center of balance. But you got to be careful getting short above the 33.50. I think above that, we really, it's going to be almost like a tractor beam up to that all-time high, or at least into that excess. So just be careful. Now, if we get back inside yesterday's range, decent odds that we come back down to that 94. And that's really where we'll look for buyers to make a stand, right? They made the stand yesterday on the 80. We'll look to see if they can make the stand today on the 94 if there is a pullback, right? That's going to be a 30-point pullback. Average range is sitting around 51 points, so it's definitely not out of the question. Below that, I think the market inside here just turns into kind of a choppy mess, similar to yesterday, right? We had talked about this before the market opened. We really get kind of choppy in here, and then below this 52.77, I think the downside starts to pick up, right? And we've got some key references on the way down that really kind of help us or let us know if the sellers are weak, or if the sellers are strong, or if there is some actual selling pressure. And that would be a test below this 64. And then ultimately that 52.40 is the kind of key level. Should the market get back below that level, then we start looking a bit lower. And honestly, I think below that level, the market probably heads down to that 52.15 area, 52.20, which is this area down here towards the low of balance and kind of back inside this previous 3-day balance. We do have some VPOCs along the way, so it's not going to necessarily be just a straight drop, but acceptance below that 52.77 likely draws the market lower. And then in the case of a pullback, you maintain that eyesight on that 52.40. Should we break it, then we start to prepare for lower prices. But other than that, that is pretty much it. We do have some news today, 10 o'clock ISM services, and then we've got final services PMI 945, services PMI 10, ISM, and then we've got crude oil inventory today. So possible decent trade setting up on crude as well, as we've seen it catch a little bit of a bid after getting smashed down pretty well. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Today's not really a day that you want to be trying to call the top, I don't think. You're better off just being patient and letting the market get below the level before short. Like I said, so we've got your green zone here, where you're really only looking for longs. You're definitely only looking for longs above here. The market starts to get choppy below this area, and then you start to get a little bit bearish here down towards this, below that 52.77, and really that ultimate target, like I said, is that 12 down here. But yeah, other than that, you guys have a wonderful day. Make sure you're managing risk and sticking to your trade plan, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.